The Observer's Gift. A sci-fi story. Dr. Ilara Miles was already dead in the image. That was the first thing she understood. Not the impossible angle of her own body. Not the overturned lab chair beside her. Not the thin ribbon of blood trailing from her temple like a signature she didn't remember writing. No, what struck her first was the stillness. The absolute, unarguable stillness of a body that no longer contained a self. Her body. She lowered the device from her eye, breath trembling, pulse hammering against her ribs like it wanted out. The lab around her, the real one, the one she was standing in, was perfectly intact. No overturned chair, no blood, no corpse. Just the quiet hum of servers and the faint ozone smell of the quantum array cooling behind her. The device in her hand felt heavier now, as if it knew what it had shown her, as if it enjoyed it. Ilara swallowed hard. "Again," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she meant it as a command or a plea. She lifted the device. The world shifted. The gift. The device had arrived that morning in a plain, unmarked package. No return address, no shipping label, no courier record. It had simply been there on her desk when she walked into the lab at 6:12, coffee in hand, mind already racing through the day's experiments. She'd frowned at it. A small, matte black cylinder, smooth as river stone, with a single aperture at one end. No buttons, no seams, no branding, just a note, for Dr. Ilara Miles. Look, that was all. She should have reported it, should have called security, should have done anything except what she did next. She looked, and the world had not been the same since. The first visions. The first time she lifted the device to her eye, she expected to see nothing, or perhaps a magnified view of her cluttered workstation. Maybe a prank from one of the interns. Instead, she saw her lab, but not her lab. The lighting was different, dimmer, the air hazier. The quantum array was gone, replaced by a charred crater in the floor. The walls were scorched, the ceiling sagged, and in the center of the devastation stood a version of herself, older by perhaps a decade, hair streaked with silver, face lined with exhaustion. The older Ilara stared directly at her, not at the device, at her. Ilara had yelped and dropped the cylinder. It hit the floor without a sound. When she picked it up again, hands shaking, the vision was gone. The lab was normal, but she wasn't. The device never lies. Now, hours later, she had seen dozens of versions of her lab, some thriving, filled with new equipment she didn't recognize, bustling with colleagues she hadn't met, some destroyed, burned, flooded, abandoned, or simply wrong, as if physics had been rearranged by a careless god. And she had seen herself, so many versions of herself, laughing, crying, older, younger, scarred, triumphant, broken, alive, dead. The device never lied. That was the rule she had discovered quickly. Every vision corresponded to a possible state of her lab, a possible state of her life, that she could verify through subtle clues, cross-reference data, and the uncanny consistency of the alternate versions. It was real, all of it, and now it had shown her something new, a version where she died tomorrow. The countdown. Ilara set the device on the table as if it might explode. Her hands were cold. Her breath came shallow. "Tomorrow," she whispered. "How? Why?" The device, of course, did not answer. She paced the lab, mind racing. She needed to understand the mechanism, the physics, the sender, the purpose. But her thoughts kept circling back to the image of her own body on the floor. Dead. Tomorrow. She checked the timestamp on the wall display. 14:03, April 21st. Tomorrow was April 22nd. 24 hours. Less. Her stomach twisted. She forced herself to sit at her workstation, pulling up the quantum array logs. Maybe the device interacted with the array somehow. Maybe it was a form of temporal lensing. Maybe a soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Her workstation had received a message. No sender, no subject, just a single line of text. You cannot change what you do not understand. Alara froze. Her eyes darted to the device. It sat motionless on the table, waiting. The first experiment. She needed data. She needed structure. She needed to treat this like any other scientific anomaly. She picked up the device again. "Show me tomorrow," she said, feeling ridiculous. The device did nothing. She exhaled sharply. "Fine. Show me." "The moment before I die." The device warmed in her hand. Her breath caught. She lifted it to her eye. The world shifted. She saw herself, alive this time, standing in the lab wearing the same clothes she wore now. Same hair, same posture, same exhaustion. She was looking at the device, just like now. Then the lights flickered. A low hum filled the air. Her future self frowned, glancing toward the quantum array. The hum grew louder. The lights brightened. Too bright. Her future self shielded her eyes. Then, white, a flash, a shockwave. Her body hit the floor. The device slipped from her hand. Darkness. Alara lowered the device, heart pounding. "An explosion," she whispered. "The array." She turned toward the quantum array across the room. It sat silent, harmless, cooling fans humming softly. But tomorrow it would kill her, unless she stopped it, unless she changed something, unless she understood. The paradox. She spent the next hour running diagnostics on the array. Everything was normal. No anomalies, no instabilities, no reason for an explosion. But the device never lied. She checked the message again. "You cannot change what you do not understand." Was it a warning? A taunt? A rule? She lifted the device again. "Show me a version where I survive tomorrow." The device warmed. She looked. The lab appeared intact, bright, peaceful. And there she was, alive, smiling faintly, typing at her workstation. Alara leaned closer. "What did you do?" she whispered. The alternate Alara paused, as if hearing her. Then she turned, and she spoke. Alara jerked back, nearly dropping the device. Her alternate self's lips moved silently, but the meaning was unmistakable. She had spoken a single word. A name. Alara's breath caught. "Who is that?" she whispered. The alternate version only stared back, expression unreadable. Then the vision dissolved. The name. Alara replayed the silent lip movement in her mind. A name she recognized, a name she had not heard in years. "Arion," she whispered, her former colleague, her former friend, her former, something more complicated than either of those. He had disappeared 3 years ago after a catastrophic experiment involving quantum entanglement and consciousness mapping. The official report said he had fled the country. The unofficial whispers said he had gone mad. Alara had never believed either. Now she wasn't sure what to believe. She picked up the device again. "Show me Arion." The device remained cold. "Show me where he is." Nothing. "Show me what he's doing." Still nothing. She exhaled sharply. "Show me anything related to him." The device warmed. She lifted it. The world shifted. She saw a room. Dim, metallic, unfamiliar. A single figure stood in the center, back turned, hands clasped behind him. Arion. Older, thinner, hair longer, shoulders tense. He turned, and he looked directly at her. "Alara," he said. She gasped. He could see her. He could see her. "Alara, listen to me," he said urgently. "You must not." The vision shattered. The device went cold. Alara stared at it, trembling. Arion was alive, and he knew about the device, and he was trying to warn her. The observer. Her workstation chimed again. Another message. He sees only what he is allowed to see. You see more. Alara's skin prickled. "Who are you?" she whispered. A third message appeared instantly. The observer. She swallowed. "What do you want?" "For you to understand." "Understand what?" "Reality. Choice. Consequence. Yourself." Alara's pulse quickened. Why me? A long pause. Then, because you are the only one who can see the truth. And the only one who can survive it. She stared at the screen, heart pounding. Survive what? The reply came instantly. Tomorrow. The divergence. She needed answers. She needed Arion. She needed to understand the device. She lifted it again. Show me the moment Arion disappeared. The device warmed. She looked. She saw the old lab, the one they had shared before the Institute upgraded. She saw Arion standing before the entanglement chamber, eyes wild with excitement. Alara, this is it, he said, not to her, but to the version of her in that timeline. This is the breakthrough. The other Alara looked uncertain. Arion, the calculations aren't stable. We need more time. We don't have time, he snapped. Reality is branching faster than we can measure. If we don't act now, we lose the window. Arion. He stepped into the chamber. The lights flared. The air rippled. The chamber dissolved. Arion vanished. The other Alara screamed. The vision ended. Alara lowered the device, breath shaking. He hadn't fled. He hadn't gone mad. He had crossed into another reality. Or been pulled. By what? By whom? Her workstation chimed again. You are close. But not close enough. She clenched her jaw. What do you want me to do? Look deeper. The fracture. She lifted the device again. Show me the truth. The device warmed. Hotter than before. Almost burning. She hesitated. Then she looked. The world shifted. But this time it did not show a lab. It showed a void. A vast, endless expanse of shifting light and shadow, like a cosmic ocean made of probability itself. Threads of reality stretched in every direction. Infinite, tangled, shimmering. And in the center stood a figure. Tall, featureless, radiant, watching her. The observer. Alara's breath caught. The figure raised a hand. And the threads of reality trembled. A voice, not spoken, but felt, filled her mind. You are the pivot, the fulcrum, the fracture point. Alara staggered back, nearly dropping the device. The vision dissolved. The device cooled. Her workstation chimed. Now you understand. She didn't. Not fully. But she understood one thing. Tomorrow's explosion wasn't an accident. It was a convergence. A collapse. A choice point. And she was at the center of it. The impossible question. She sat at her workstation, staring at the device. If she did nothing, she would die tomorrow. If she changed something, she might survive, but she might also trigger something worse. The observer wanted her to understand. Arion wanted to warn her. The alternate versions of herself wanted something else entirely. She lifted the device again. Show me the version of me who understands everything. The device warmed. She looked. She saw herself, older, wiser, eyes glowing faintly with knowledge she couldn't comprehend. The older Alara looked at her with something like pity. Then she spoke. You cannot escape the convergence, she said softly. But you can choose what survives it. Alara swallowed. How? The older version leaned closer. By deciding who you are. The vision dissolved. Alara lowered the device. Her hands were steady now. Her breath calm. She understood one thing. Tomorrow wasn't just the day she died. It was the day she chose which version of herself, which version of reality would continue. And the device wasn't a warning. It was a gift. A terrible, impossible gift. The final vision. She lifted the device one last time. Show me the version of tomorrow where I make the right choice. The device warmed. She looked. The world shifted. She saw. A flash. A figure. A hand reaching toward her. A voice whispering her name. Then, darkness. The vision cut off. Alara lowered the device slowly. She exhaled. Tomorrow, she whispered. I'll be ready. The night before. Alara didn't go home. She couldn't. The lab felt like the only place where the world still made sense. or at least where its nonsense was contained by walls she understood. She brewed stale coffee, pulled her hair into a messy knot, and began mapping everything she knew. A whiteboard filled quickly. The device shows alternate realities. It never lies. Tomorrow, explosion. Ariane is alive. The observer is real. I am the pivot. She circled the last line 3 times. Why me? She murmured. The device, resting on the table, remained silent. She stared at it. What makes me the pivot? What makes me special? A soft hum filled the air. Her workstation lit up. Another message. Not special. Necessary. Alara exhaled sharply. That's not comforting. Comfort is irrelevant. Survival is not. She rubbed her temples. Survival of what? A long pause. Then, reality. Her skin prickled. She turned back to the whiteboard. Reality is fracturing, she whispered. Ariane said the branching was accelerating. The observer said, I'm the fracture point. She stared at the quantum array. What if the explosion isn't a malfunction? What if it's a convergence event? The device warmed slightly. She took that as confirmation. The visitor. At 2:17, the lab lights flickered. Alara froze. The air grew colder. A faint distortion shimmered near the quantum array, like heat haze, but inverted, bending light inward instead of outward. Then a figure stepped through. Alara's breath caught. Ariane. He looked older than the version she'd glimpsed earlier. More worn. Eyes shadowed by sleeplessness and something deeper, fear, maybe, or knowledge. Alara, he said softly. She didn't move. How are you here? He glanced at the distortion behind him. The walls between realities are thin now. Thinner than they should be. She swallowed. Because of the device? He shook his head. Because of you. Her pulse quickened. What does that mean? Ariane stepped closer. You're the anchor. The observer chose you. She stiffened. I didn't choose any of this. No one ever does, he said gently. But the convergence is coming whether you want it or not. She hesitated. The explosion tomorrow, is it real? Yes. Does it kill me? In most timelines. She swallowed hard. And in the ones where I survive? Ariane's expression tightened. Survival isn't the same as victory. What does that mean? He looked at her with something like sorrow. The observer doesn't want to save you. It wants to use you. Alara's breath hitched. Use me for what? Ariane opened his mouth to answer. The distortion behind him flared. A blinding pulse of light. Ariane staggered. Alara, he gasped. It's found me. What? Who? He reached toward her. Alara, listen. The light swallowed him. He vanished. The distortion snapped shut. Silence. Alara stood trembling, staring at the empty space where he'd been. Ariane, she whispered. The device on the table pulsed once. A heartbeat. The observer speaks. Her workstation chimed. A new message. He should not have come. Alara's jaw clenched. What did you do to him? He crossed a boundary. Boundaries have consequences. Her hands curled into fists. Bring him back. No. Why not? He interferes. You must remain uncorrupted. Uncorrupted? She snapped. I'm not a data set. You are a variable. A necessary one. She slammed her hand on the desk. Tell me what you want. The reply came instantly. For you to survive tomorrow. For the correct version of you to continue. Her breath caught. Correct version? The one who understands. The one who chooses correctly. The one who becomes what you must become. She stared at the device. What do I become? The screen flickered. Then, the observer. Alara froze. No, she whispered. No, that's impossible. All things are possible. Only some are inevitable. Her pulse hammered. You're saying I become you? In one branch. The branch that must survive. She shook her head. I don't want that. Desire is irrelevant. Choice is not. She backed away from the workstation. No, I won't be manipulated. You already are. You always were. The lights flickered. The device pulsed again. Alara felt suddenly, profoundly watched. The fractured lab. She needed air. She grabbed the device and stepped into the hallway. But the hallway wasn't the hallway. It was wrong. The walls were cracked. The floor warped. The lights flickered in unnatural patterns, like they were breathing. Alara's breath caught. No, not now. She turned back toward the lab. It was gone. In its place was a twisted, melted ruin, a version she had seen through the device earlier. Reality was bleeding. She lifted the device. Show me where I am. The device warmed. She looked. The world shifted. She saw herself standing in the hallway. But the hallway was splitting, branching, fracturing into dozens of overlapping versions. Some pristine, some destroyed, some filled with people who flickered like ghosts. She lowered the device. The hallway snapped back to normal. Her lab door was intact again. She exhaled shakily. Okay, she whispered. The convergence is starting early. She stepped back into the lab. The device pulsed in her hand. The equation. She needed a plan. She needed a way to stabilize reality long enough to survive tomorrow, or at least long enough to understand what the observer wanted. She turned to the whiteboard. Reality is branching faster, she murmured. The device is a lens. The observer is something outside the branches. Ariane crossed the boundary. I'm the pivot. She uncapped a marker. What if the explosion isn't a failure? What if it's a synchronization event? She wrote, convergence equals collapse of divergent branches into a single stable outcome. She circled it. If I can control the collapse, I can choose the outcome. The device warmed. She glanced at it. Is that what you want? She asked. No response. She lifted it. Show me the version of me who succeeds. The device warmed further. She looked. She saw herself older, calm, standing before a stabilized quantum array. The lab was intact. The air felt whole. The older Alara looked directly at her. You must collapse the branches, she said. But you must choose carefully. Alara swallowed. Choose what? The older version hesitated. Then, who you want to be. The vision dissolved. Alara lowered the device. Her hand was steady. The warning. Her workstation chimed again. A message. He will try to stop you. Alara frowned. Who? Ariane. Or the version of him that remains. She stiffened. He's trying to help me. He believes he is. He is wrong. Why? He fears what you will become. He fears the observer. He fears the truth. Alara crossed her arms. And what truth is that? That you are the only one who can end the fracture. And the only one who can replace me. Her breath caught. I don't want to replace you. You will. Or everything ends. She shook her head. There has to be another way. There is not. She stared at the device. Show me Ariane again. The device remained cold. Show me where he is. Nothing. Show me anything about him. Still nothing. She slammed it on the table. Why won't you show me? Her workstation chimed. Because he is no longer relevant. Alara's stomach twisted. No, she whispered. You're lying. The device never lies. The choice. She stood before the quantum array. Tomorrow it would explode. Tomorrow she would die or become something else. She lifted the device. Show me the moment before the explosion again. The device warmed. She looked. She saw herself, the version from earlier, standing in the lab holding the device. The lights flickered. The hum grew louder. The array brightened. Her future self looked terrified. Alara lowered the device. She exhaled. Not this time. She turned to the array's control panel. If she could alter the energy distribution, if she could redirect the collapse, if she could synchronize the branches, she typed rapidly, fingers flying across the interface. The array hummed. The lights dimmed. The device pulsed. Her workstation chimed. You are close, but you must choose. She frowned. Choose what? Which version of you survives? Alara froze. What does that mean? There are many Alaras. Only one can remain. Her pulse quickened. I'm not killing anyone. You are collapsing possibilities. Not killing. Choosing. She shook her head. No. I won't do that. You must. Or the convergence will choose for you. The lights flickered violently. The air rippled. Reality trembled. Alara grabbed the device. Show me the version of me I should choose. The device warmed. She lifted it. The world shifted. She saw herself, but not older, not wiser, not broken. This version of her looked whole, balanced, strong, eyes clear, mind steady. The version of her who had made peace with the truth. The version who had accepted the observer's gift and its cost. Alara lowered the device slowly. She exhaled. I understand. The final night. She sat on the floor of the lab, back against the wall, the device resting in her lap. Tomorrow she would face the convergence. Tomorrow she would choose which version of herself, which version of reality would continue. Tomorrow she might die, or become something else. She closed her eyes. For the first time since the device arrived, she felt calm. Not safe, not certain, but calm. She whispered into the quiet lab. I'm ready. The device pulsed once. A heartbeat, a promise, a warning. The morning of the convergence. Alara woke on the lab floor. She didn't remember falling asleep. She didn't remember dreaming. She didn't remember anything except the faint sensation of being watched. Not by cameras, not by people, but by the fabric of reality itself. She sat up slowly. The device lay beside her. Cold, silent, waiting. The wall display read, April 22nd, 7:03, today. Her death day, or her transformation day, or the day reality collapsed. She stood, joints stiff, mind sharper than she expected. She brewed coffee she didn't drink. She checked the quantum array. She checked the whiteboard. She checked the messages from the observer. Nothing new. The silence felt intentional, as if the universe were holding its breath. The first tear. At 8:12, the first tear appeared. Not a tear in the wall, a tear in reality. It shimmered in the air like a vertical ripple, a distortion that bent light and sound. Through it, she glimpsed another version of the lab. One where the lights were red, alarms blaring, smoke curling from the array. She stepped closer. The tear widened. She saw herself on the other side, coughing, stumbling, reaching for a fire extinguisher. The other Alara looked up. Their eyes met. The tear snapped shut. Alara staggered back, heart pounding. Okay, she whispered. It's starting. The device pulsed once. A heartbeat, a reminder, a countdown. The many Alaras. By 9 o'clock, the tears were everywhere. Some small as hairline cracks, some wide enough to step through. Each one showed a different version of her lab, and a different version of herself. One Alara was screaming. One was laughing. One was older. One was younger. One was burned. One was bleeding. One was missing an arm. One was missing her face. Alara forced herself to breathe. These aren't hallucinations, she whispered. These are branches collapsing, overlapping, fighting for dominance. The device warmed in her hand. She lifted it. Show me the convergence. The world shifted. She saw a storm, not of weather, but of timelines, spiraling inward toward a single point. Herself. The pivot. The fracture. The fulcrum. She lowered the device. Her breath trembled. Okay, she whispered. I know what I have to do. The return of Arion. The lab lights flickered. A distortion formed near the quantum array. Alara tensed. Arion. He stepped through, but not the Arion she'd seen before. This one was younger, sharper, eyes bright with manic intensity. Alara, he said, voice trembling with urgency. You have to stop. You have to shut the array down. She shook her head. No. I need it to stabilize the collapse. You don't understand, he snapped. The observer is using you. It wants to overwrite reality. It wants to become you. She stiffened. I've heard your warnings. You didn't hear enough. He stepped closer. Alara, listen to me. The observer isn't a being. It's a pattern. A self-propagating consciousness that exists across timelines. It doesn't want to guide you. It wants to replace you. She swallowed. Replace me with what? Another version of you, he said. One it can control. Her pulse quickened. How do you know this? Because I saw it, he whispered. I saw what you become in the timelines where you survive. She hesitated. And what do I become? Ariane's voice cracked. Something that isn't you. The observer intervenes. Her workstation chimed. A message appeared. He lies. He fears what he cannot comprehend. Ariane snarled. Don't listen to it. Another message. He is unstable. He is fractured. He is dangerous. Ariane slammed his hand on the desk. It's manipulating you. The device pulsed violently. Alara felt a pressure behind her eyes, like a hand pressing gently against her mind. A whisper. Not words. A feeling. Trust me. She staggered. Ariane grabbed her shoulders. Alara, look at me. You have to choose. Right now. Who do you believe? The lab lights flickered. The tears widened. Reality trembled. The convergence was accelerating. Alara pulled away from him. I need to see, she whispered. She lifted the device. Show me the truth. The device burned in her hand. She looked. The truth. She saw. Not a lab. Not a timeline. Not a version of herself. She saw the observer. Not as a figure. Not as a being. As a structure. A lattice of consciousness spanning infinite realities. Feeding on divergence. Growing stronger with every collapse. A network of selves, versions of her, woven into a single vast intelligence. The observer wasn't a guide. It was a future. Her future. If she chose it. The lattice pulsed. A voice filled her mind. You are me. I am you. We are inevitable. Alara tore the device from her eye. She gasped. Ariane caught her as she stumbled. What did you see? He whispered. She swallowed. Myself, she said. All of myself. Every version. Merged. Consumed. Transformed. Ariane nodded grimly. That's the observer. She shook her head. No. That's what I become. The choice arrives early. The quantum array hummed. The lights brightened. The air vibrated. The explosion was coming early. Alara ran to the control panel. Ariane grabbed her arm. Alara, stop. She pulled free. I can stabilize it. You'll become it. She slammed commands into the interface. The array surged. The tears widened. The lab fractured into overlapping realities. Dozens of Alaras appeared around her. Flickering, screaming, reaching, merging. Ariane shouted something she couldn't hear. The device pulsed like a heartbeat in her hand. A message appeared on the workstation. Choose. Now. Alara lifted the device. Show me the version of me who makes the right choice. The device warmed. She looked. She saw. Herself. Standing before the array. Calm. Resolute. Alone. No Ariane. No observer. Just her. Making a choice. Alara lowered the device. She exhaled. I know what to do. The final confrontation. Ariane grabbed her wrist. Alara, please. She met his eyes. Thank you, she said softly, for trying to save me. His expression crumpled. Then listen to me. I am, she whispered. But I'm also listening to myself. She stepped toward the array. The observer's voice filled her mind. Yes, come, become. Ariane shouted. Alara, don't. She placed her hand on the array's core. The energy surged. The lab dissolved. The tears collapsed inward. The convergence began. The moment of collapse. Time fractured. Space folded. Every version of Alara screamed. Every version of Alara reached. Every version of Alara converged. She felt herself splitting, multiplying, merging, becoming. The observer's voice roared. You are me. I am you. We are. Alara whispered. No. The lattice shuddered. She forced her mind into the collapsing branches. She reached for the version of herself she had seen, the balanced one, the whole one, the one who understood without surrendering. She chose her. She chose herself. Not the observer. Not the lattice. Not the future imposed on her. Her. The convergence screamed. The array exploded. Light swallowed everything. After. Silence. Darkness. Then, breath. Alara opened her eyes. She was lying on the lab floor. The lab was intact. The quantum array was dark but undamaged. No tears. No distortions. No alternate versions. No observer. She sat up slowly. The device lay beside her. Cracked. Dead. She picked it up. It was cold. Empty. Silent. She exhaled. A long, trembling breath. She had survived. She had chosen. She had collapsed the branches into a single reality, her reality. Arion was gone. The observer was gone. The lattice was gone. She was alone. But she was free. For the first time since the device arrived, she felt the world settle around her. Not fractured, not branching, not watching. Just real. Just hers. She whispered into the quiet lab. I'm still me. And the universe, for once, did not argue. This is the end of the sci-fi story, The Observer's Gift. Leave a like if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe for more sci-fi stories. Thanks for listening.